Someone texts you, "We should do dinner at your place sometime." You say yes. You even mean it. And then, 5 seconds later, your nervous system screams, "Absolutely not." Suddenly, you're noticing everything: the lighting, the noise, the chair that squeaks, the fact that your couch is your couch. The whole point of home was that nobody could see it. You can love your friends and still violently hate hosting them, because hosting turns your recovery space into a performance space. If you're the kind of person who crashes after social time, you already know the thing nobody says out loud. There's a hosting hangover. But here's the part that explains so much. It's entirely biological. Home is one of the only places where you have total control. Sound, light, pace, exits, the whole sensory diet. For a lot of nervous systems, that control reads as safety. When guests come over, that cue fades. Quietly. Your brain starts running two background processes: sensory monitoring and social responsibility. Even when you're enjoying yourself, you're tracking whether everyone is okay. That's work. In environmental psychology, there's a concept called environmental empathy. People who find hosting exhausting usually score exceptionally high in this metric. While the average brain automatically filters out background noise and subtle social cues to conserve energy, these individuals process the emotional and sensory data of a room in high definition. They notice the slight hesitation in a guest's voice, the changing temperature of the room, the micro-expressions of discomfort. Their nervous system is performing complex social calculations that the average person is completely oblivious to. Now, this doesn't make them objectively better hosts than the people who just throw a party and ignore the details. But it does mean their awareness is functioning at a very different resolution. That awareness just becomes expensive when it has no limits. But this is where it gets fascinating. Because while the exhaustion looks identical on the outside, it's usually driven by one of two completely different psychological engines. Reason 1. Sanctuary. For some people, home is where their system downshifts. The scanning stops. The mask comes off. The volume drops. When guests come over, the downshift disappears. The guest can be great, and your brain still flips back into manage the room mode. You're tracking comfort, timing, food, silence, eye contact. You become the unofficial event coordinator of your own living room. That's not just being a host, that's project management. Reason 2. Inspection. If you grew up in a home where mess got comments, where privacy wasn't real, where people had opinions about how you live, then inviting someone in doesn't feel like connection. It feels like exposure. Same behavior, different engine. It requires an honest reality check. Ask yourself, when you picture hosting, do you feel overstimulated or evaluated? Overstimulated points to sanctuary. Evaluated points to inspection. Either way, the dread is usually, I'm going to need 36 hours to recover. But here's the strangest part about the hosting hangover. The social time itself is usually fine. The part that actually drains you is the lack of a container. At a restaurant, the environment contains the experience. There's a start time, a socially normal end. Someone else controls the noise and the dishes. You can leave and the night ends. At home, unless you build structure, hosting becomes an open-ended system. And open-ended systems are where sensitive, responsible brains get trapped. So if you absolutely have to host, don't try to be more social. You need to override the system. You do this by implementing 3 specific environmental protocols. And the third one is usually the hardest for highly empathetic people to accept. Protocol 1. Temporal constraint. You must dictate a hard start and a hard stop. Open-ended systems are where sensitive brains suffocate. A defined window turns the feeling of being trapped into a conscious choice. Protocol 2. Spatial quarantine. You do not give guests free reign of the house. You designate one room as the public zone. The rest of your house remains completely off limits. You maintain a private sanctuary that your nervous system knows is untouched. And Protocol 3. The adequate baseline. This is the hardest part. Your hypervigilance will tell you everything needs to be perfect. You have to ignore it. The goal is not to impress them. The goal is to protect your energy. Good enough is the only metric that matters. And one bonus rule that helps immediately. Pay the recovery bill up front. Don't stack hosting on an already maxed day. Don't schedule something intense right after. Give your system a clean landing. And if you're thinking, okay, but I still just don't want people in my space, treat that as a preference, not a defect. Some people are high connection and low access. They love deep friendships. They just don't want their sanctuary to be the venue. Stop calling it antisocial. It's just nervous system economics. Understanding the wiring doesn't fix it, but it does let you stop fighting it. So which one are you? Sanctuary or inspection? Tell me in the comments. And if this hit, subscribe.